of doubts. The world was in pain and negativity. You made us hold on to the positive thoughts and full. Oh MINLA, you boosted us with your smiles. Oh MINLA, you've come so far, guiding us to the light. Inspired both young and old with patience and mindfulness. We thank you, oh MINLA, we thank you. This gift that you gave us is larger than life. To go ahead with confidence and smile, we thank you, oh MINLA, we thank you. M for mindfulness, I for innovation, N for newness, L for loyalty, A for activeness. You gave us the direction. Oh MINLA, you boosted us with your smiles. Oh MINLA, you've come so far, guiding us to the right. We thank you, oh MINLA, we thank you, oh MINLA, Meena ji and Lalit ji. We thank you for everything.
A global namaste to all of you. A very good morning, a good afternoon, and a very good evening to whichever part of the globe you're joining us from. MINLA Zoom session. Meena Kagram and Lalit Soda started these MINLA Zoom sessions at the beginning of the pandemic in the year 2020. We are so delighted that we've been going strong every year, every month, every week. We've been conducting these Zoom sessions to spread love, peace, educate people, inform them. During the pandemic, it has been a tough time for a lot of us. Now it's all opening up. We are all excited. And we are getting some amazing speakers on our Zoom session to educate us, to inform us about the happenings in the world. Today, we are truly delighted to say that the Lohana Youth League of Nairobi has collaborated with MINLA Zoom sessions to have this wonderful, awesome speaker with us from the Safari Rally, from the Federation International of Automobile, the well-known Mr. Surinder Thatthi. Wow, what a personality to be interviewing today and getting some inside information about the safari rallies, the driving, the co-navigating with the top superstars of the safari rally. And really, something that was such a huge thing years ago is becoming even a bigger thing now. So we're quite interested in knowing what the future of the Safari Rally will be, not just in Kenya, but also internationally. So we're going to get first-hand information from none other than Mr. Surinder Thatthi. Who is he? Currently, let me say, his educational background is a BA in Building Economics from University of Nairobi. He was born in 1958. I'm going to give away your date of birth here, Mr. Thatthi. And he's currently, as a career, a quantity surveyor, building economist, director of charter aircraft company in Kenya. And he continues his sporting career in a very, very nice way. Initially participating in it, and now coordinating quite a bit of it too. So, co-driver in the international and Kenyan motor rally competitions from 1978. He moved on and did so much. He became the president of the Federation of International Automobile, FIA, Confederation of African Countries in Motorsports, trustee of the Kenyan Motorsports Foundation, chairman of the KCB Safari Rally in 2005. His sporting administrative career took him through a chairmanship of Confederation of the African Countries in Motorsport from the year 2000, CEO of Kenya Motorsport Foundation 2003 to 2005. He became a trustee of the Kenya Motorsports Foundation until 2007, becoming then a director of the Kenya Motorsport Federation till date. This gentleman has received many titles: the Kenya Motorsportsman of the Year 1988. He is the FIA, which is the Federation International Automobile African Rally Championship co-driver in 1989. He is the FIA African Rally Champion co-driver 1996. FIA African Rally Champion co-driver 1997. He then goes on till 1998 to get these titles. This gentleman has an amazing history, and we are truly delighted to invite Mr. Thatthi on this MINLA Zoom session and thank him for giving us this valuable time of his. So before we move on, we would like to invite Priyanka Chotai, who is a representative from the Lohana Youth League of Nairobi, to formally welcome our guest speaker on MINLA Zoom. Priyanka, you're on the floor now.
Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you very much. This is indeed an honor for the entire of Lohana Youth League to be partaking in one of the MINLA Zoom sessions. I think given that both you and Meena bin Kagram have come up with such a beautiful platform to bring everybody together, to impart knowledge and to share ideas in the midst of a pandemic is beyond commendable. On behalf of the entire Youth League, we thank you immensely for your support. To all our guests watching and listening this session today, a very warm and formal welcome on behalf of the Lohana Youth League and MINLA. We're so delighted to have all of you here today to be listening in, to listen to the automobile enigma himself, Mr. Surinder Thatthi. We're honored to have you amongst us. Lohana Youth League, as a lot of you may know or may not know, is trying to encourage youth to come together in this pandemic, to organize events, cultural, entertainment, social, in all aspects, to try and engage in some very intellectual content. And obviously, the pandemic has taken us back so many months, so many years in our preparations to do that. But with the support of Zoom sessions like this and our sister institutions, we have managed to get a little bit far in our endeavors. So we would like to formally thank our sister institutions, the Lohana Mahila Mandal, the Golfing Society, the Ladies Circle, of course, the LYL, and our absolute motherboard, our Mahajan. Thank you so much for the support. Today's Zoom session will obviously encourage the youth, and like what Mr. Thatthi said before we went live, is what is the future of automobile? What do we look at when we are looking at people getting into the sports of automobile in the future? And I'm really hopeful that part of the LYL and the youth in general who are watching in, listening in, can take a page out of the book from the Zoom session and find a way forward to find their passions in the world of automobile in the future. So Dr. Soda and Meena bin Kagram, thank you so much for giving LYL this opportunity. We will continue to support you. We will continue to engage in intellectual conversations, and we will continue to ask you for all the advice that we can to better ourselves as the future youth and the future of the Lohana community in general. Thank you so much, Mr. Thatthi, once again for availing your time for this beautiful Zoom session. We are really eager to learn about your journey and your ideas for the future of what I call in my language, the Rally Championships, which of course are coming up in a couple of weeks. And we're really looking forward to it as the youth and the future of this particular sports. Doc, on to you.
Thank you very much, Priyanka. Very well spoken, very well said. Just for the viewers online, for the viewers on Zoom today, You want to make sure the Lohana community, the Lohana Youth League, ladies and gents, are very active, are making the community very, very proud in Nairobi. Just a quick one. Is there another device on with somewhere else? Because that's just giving sound reflection back to us.
Not on my side.
Not on your side. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I think whoever it was has probably silenced it. Not a problem. So I just wanted to let you know that this is an amazing community and amazing youth that is actually going forward and getting the community such a wonderful presence. So Priyanka, thank you for that. And the other gentleman, Meet Tucker, who's the secretary, is also with us. Thank you for participating on this. We move on to our next formal introduction, or may I say traditional introduction or a traditional welcome by our none other than Meena Ben Khagran, who is the pioneer with these Zoom sessions. It was with her inspiration that these have been going on. I'm not going to say too many things, but she is the queen of Zoom sessions in Nakuru. Meena Ben, the floor is all yours.
Lalit, I think the noise is coming from your side.
My side, there is no other device open here, Meena Ben. Does my green keep flashing?
Okay, and maybe Surinder, I don't know. Anyway,
Okay.
Surinder, this is for you. And this for you. Traditionally, welcome for old-fashioned, and that is for you.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Havariya Joni, global namaskar to all, Jambo. This is my pleasant and humble duty to end this session with the heartiest thank you to Nish.
Meena Ben.
I think I've got the wrong way. But he is still. Global namaskar to all, Jambu Karibuni. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Flamingo city of Nakuru, where Lake Nakuru is famous for wildlife and flamingos. Nakuru County is the one where world famous fastest runners like Eliud Kipchoge and Faith are born. Now, we have very old Hyrex Museum and world famous crater too. Nakuru is the fastest progressive city in the world. Now, we have East African World's Rally Safari happens here, right here. My cute cousin, Dr. Lalit, and myself, MINLA Zoom, are super excited to welcome you all and here who have joined us on live on Zoom and Facebook Live. Welcome Nairobi Lohana Youth League, President Shamil Manek, Secretary Meet Tucker, Priyanka, and members of Lohana Majan. May you welcome our proud rally drivers, Surinder. Can't wait to listen to him. So happy to see you, Surinder ji. So proud of you. Vivi,
Thank you very much.
Vivi and Buana. Let me introduce to you our backbone of this session, MC Dr. Lalit Sodha. He's a professional speaker, chiropractor, and author, and he is a respect you of many awards, and recently he's been awarded Marwa Journalist Award. Over to you, Lalit. I will make more mistakes.
That's okay, Meena Ben. Thank you very much. Unless we make mistakes, we don't move on. So it's fine. It's not a problem. Hey, we are all normal human beings. So it's all fine. Thank you very much for that warm introduction. Thank you, Youth League. Thank you, Meena Ben. And now we move on to our wonderful guest speaker, Mr. Surinder Thatthi. Mr. Thatthi, welcome, welcome, welcome once again. And just a quick question, Mr. Thatthi, do you have another device on at your end besides the device you have right now?
No, just the
Okay.
device I have.
Just the one you're talking to right now. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. It's just that there's some sound interference coming from somewhere and we're not sure where it's coming from. But that's not a problem. We'll move on. This is the virtual world. And in virtual world, we face a lot of things. But hey, like, we move on with our sessions. So let me begin with this first question. And this is always an exciting question for me to ask. Because, when we get a wonderful guest speaker like yours, who's achieved a lot, who made a mark in an industry, we want to know, really, truly want to know, what was it that started you focusing into this field? People inspired to become doctors, engineers, actors, actresses, musicians, singers. You went into Safari Rally. Where did that start from?
Yeah. The inspiration has always been the Sikh hero in our community, Joginder Singh. And as we grew up, he was at the top of his field. So inspired by Joginder, and then later by Shekhar Mehta, who's from your community, the Lohana community.
Correct.
And Shekhar still holds the record of the most Safari Rally wins in Kenya. And the record has not been beaten yet. So that's the inspiration.
That's the inspiration. So at what age did you start focusing on Safari Rally? Because, it's like people say, oh, don't go and spend your all day there. You should be studying. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. Take some interest, not a problem. But you made a career out of it. So what age did you start doing that?
The interest was very, very deep set right from youth and in my teenage years. And then when I went to Jamhuri High School in Form 5 and Form 6, I formed an automobile club in Jamhuri High School. And that automobile club used to actually go out to rallies and help out as volunteers, run around, collect time cards from here and take them there. And in those days, everything wasn't electronic and everything was physically moved around. So our automobile club used to provide the volunteers for that job in motorsport and rallying. So again, a lot of inspiration came from drivers of the time, and Shekhar Mehta was one of them. And that's where it all started, right from 1978. We then went on to University of Nairobi. And in the University of Nairobi, I was in building economics and in the design department in the same faculty was a young friend of mine called Gary Mahihu, and Gary and myself also had crazy interest in motorsport. So Gary got his father to buy him Mike Kirkland's old Datsun in 1979. We drove it in the first Safari Rally together. And I was Gary's co-driver. So that's where it all started. Right from school, university, passion was always there.
Great. So you just earlier said in 1978, when you were at Jamhuri, you started the Automobile Club. So were you the founder of the Automobile Club at Jamhuri? Was that you who set it all up and then started moving with it?
Absolutely. I started the club, and I don't know if it still exists, but definitely we planted the seed and we started the club with a very good membership, almost 60 members at that time.
Wow.
And they used to come out and help. And
so this was all voluntary help given by the students to the automobile industry at that time?
Yes.
Wow.
And especially we were all associated with the Kenya Motor Sports Club in those days. And those days, the Kenya Motor Sports Club was run by Peter Barnes, and Ashok Balla was also in the Kenya Motor Sports Club as vice chairman. And so between Peter Barnes and Ashok Balla, they used to help. They used to allow us to help, which was a great thing. And it brought a lot of passion and thing to all the people, all the members of the Automobile Club in high school.
Brilliant. And then, as you said, you actually took it to the university, and then you became the very first time you participated as a co-driver with the gentleman you named again, Gary, did you say?
Yeah, Gary Mahihu, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when you were
So
when you were co-driving with him, that was your very first time you participated in a rally?
no. I'd done a few small rallies with members of the Automobile Club in Jamhuri High School. There was a couple of Shah boys whose parents allowed them to use the car that they had, which was just a Peugeot 504. And so we'd done some rallies before that. And the first big rally was the Safari Rally in 1979.
So tell us about the beginning of the very big Safari Rally in 1979, your position with it, and what your journey in that 1979 rally was like.
1979, the rally was one of the toughest rallies. Where it was the toughest thing I'd ever done. And there's no way we could have finished it. The Safari Rally was an event that was designed to be very, very difficult. It was 1,000 to 1,200 kilometers per day. And, to cover 1,000 kilometers in a car that you were not driving at the speed Sheikh Mehta was driving, then you always ended up coming in the middle of the night. And sometimes we would actually be driving into the Kenyatta Conference Center when the first cars were actually leaving for the next leg. So people like Sheikh Mehta were driving out and we were still coming in.
Wow.
And then they would say to us that, okay, you have 1.5 hours before you go out again. That didn't give you time to sleep. So,
Sure.
you go 5 days without sleep. It was an awesome event. Certainly to finish that event was an achievement.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. So you actually did finish the whole rally, did you?
No. In 1979, we didn't finish. We retired in the Terangani Mountains. Then in 1980, I navigated for Shandy, who was a cricket player, Jaswinder Singh Shandy, and we finished 17th overall that year in 1980. So my first finish in the Safari was 1980.
So earlier you said the Safari Rally was very tough. Tough in what sense? Tough in terms of roads, tough in terms of the distance, tough in terms of the lack of sleep, tough in terms of what, or all of the above?
Everything put together, everything that you said was an element. Roads were tough because when it rained, it became muddy and very slow. Distances were large. 1,200 kilometers to cover was quite a distance. That's definitely not me there's interference from somewhere. So distances were long, tough, and then we couldn't drive at the speeds that the top drivers were driving, and you ended up driving for 5 days non-stop. So that's what made it really tough.
So again, I'll ask you a bit of a technical question there. You couldn't drive as fast as the top speed drivers because of the car not being up to that level, or the driving skills were less?
Driving skills were much, much less than the top drivers. I mean, somebody like Sheikh Mehta would do a 100-kilometer section in about 57 minutes, and we would do it in 1 hour, 30 minutes. That was the difference.
So the difference in
we were half an hour slower.
Sure. So that skill set, if I may ask, is what? Is the visual acuity? Is the control of the wheel on your hands? What sort of skills are we looking at? If one wanted to become a top rally driver, put it that way, what skills are we looking at?
To be a top rally driver, you can't learn how to drive. You have to have it in you, or you don't have it. Talent is not something that is cultivated. So talented drivers are born with the gift of driving. And certainly it did help. A few elements in talent driving and fast driving is one, reactions must be above average. Second thing is judgment. distance judgment with the eyes is something that not everybody has.
Yes.
And that judgment, the drivers have a fantastic judgment because they know when to press the brake pedal. Because if you press it too early, you're losing time. But people like Shekhar, Ranu Altonen, all the top drivers, they were just unbelievable in judging how and when to drive fast. Their talent was exceptional.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's exactly what I was looking for, is that sense of, or what we would call the sixth sense of when to put the brake and when to accelerate. So that's a talent a successful driver would have.
Yes,
Correct?
absolutely. And that's not something that's not something that you develop. You have to be born with it.
Sure. And any other talent that one has to have? Obviously, the driving experience and comfort with the car, etc. But besides the judgment, talent, is there anything else that you would say, aha, this is something that's necessary to become a successful one?
Yes. One of the things that drivers who won the Safari Rally had was a very calm and cool head. And drivers who got angry, it's almost like golf. The minute you get angry, you can't play golf.
Yes.
And very similarly, when driving, if you got angry with let's say, the competitor in front of you who's giving you dust or something, then you always damage the car. And this was probably the reason why Rano Altonen, Vic Preston Jr. never won the Safari Rally. But yet clever people like Shekhar, Bjorn Weldegaard, they were winners all the time because, they would sit down and think about the next day, think about the next drive, and be calm about it. Because your best in any sporting aspect, the best is always when you are calm and controlled about it, not when you're angry.
That's a very important tip that you have shared, Mr. Surinder, because in fact, that takes me on to my next question. You have co-driven with many of the top celebrities, the top winners, and that's such an amazing experience, a chance that you've had to be with them. So when these people are driving and when you're associating with them, what kind of a mindset do they have? I know you said they're calm, cool, collected, brilliant. But otherwise, what sort of a mindset do these top champions have?
Their driving talent is actually in the car, you feel that they are so much in control that you're not scared. The minute you get scared with a driver that who you feel is not in control, then that's when you cannot be a good co-driver because you start worrying about his driving ability. But with these top drivers, you just sit there and you know that in any situation that arises, that if we go into a corner too fast, he's going to sort it out. He's going to do something to sort it out. And the talented drivers, they just have such a good way of controlling the car. It's unbelievable, and you feel better.
So let me then ask you. You as I said, you've co-driven with these super drivers. Have you, when you were co-driving with them, ever felt that heart in your mouth kind of thing, or heart sinking into your stomach? Oh my God, what's going to happen next? What am I doing here?
No, that feeling comes very often, and especially with drivers who are not at the top. When you drive with an average driver, I've driven with a few drivers like Patrick Giroux, for example, and there were times that I used to get very scared because I felt he was driving beyond his limit.
Ah, okay. So yeah, it is a major risk, isn't it?
You protect yourself well. The car is well protected with the roll cage. You have good seats and good seat belts. So, and you're wearing a helmet. And nowadays in rallying, you also wear a head restraint, which stops your head from going and whiplashing. So all those aspects actually make you safer in a rally car than actually being in a normal car on the streets of Nairobi and Kenya.
Sure, sure. So obviously the car is well protected. Your gear that you get is also quite safe and secure with the helmets that you wear. Any other protections that you actually carry as a driver or a co-driver with yourselves when you're driving?
Yes, you wear a fireproof overall. So that gives you about 30 seconds in the case of a fire to get out of the car. 30 seconds is quite a long time.
Okay.
And then the other aspect which the car's preparation has is a safety fuel tank. So in the case of an impact or you roll the car, the tank doesn't burst and spray fuel all over you, which can catch fire. So a safety fuel tank is a very important aspect in the safety of a rally.
Okay, great. Sorry, there is some interference from my end. I can probably see that and hear it, but my apologies. I'm conducting this session from my clinic, and then there is some people who may have just walked by, so apologies for that. Okay, so I like that particular aspect of the safety thing, and I wanted to ask you, have you personally been, and please share this with us, have you personally been in a situation where the tire has burst or the car has turned around many a times and landed in a ditch or something? Have you been personally in any of those kind of circumstances?
Oh, yes, many times. The car has overturned many times. There was one incident in particular, which I must tell you about, is we were testing an Opel Manta 400 in Taita Hills. And the first loop I did with Rano Altonen, I was the only co-driver available at the time, so I was doing navigation for two drivers. And we drove the test road, which was about 45 kilometers with Rano Altonen. And then the second drive I did with Erwin Weber, and we beat Rano's time by a minute and a half. So Rano said, okay, the third time, when he came into the car, that now we go for it. And we came back and beat Erwin's time by 1 minute. And so Erwin said, now we really go for it. And he was too fast on a corner, and we went off the Taita Hills and rolled 7 times down the hill. And now that, when you're rolling 7 times, you're just wondering, when is this going to stop? And when that happened, they came out of the tower totally unscathed.
And no scratch on you guys at all?
No, absolutely not. The car's roll cage protection protected us. There was a few cuts in these things with the glass breaking and everything on the car, but nothing serious. Nothing serious. The car really protected us, and the seats protected us.
So you specifically mentioned that you tumbled over 7 times. What at that time was going through your mind?
Well, when you're rolling in a rally car, all you're wondering is, when are we going to stop rolling? So that's all you think about at the time. But it's not a nice feeling, but it happens. I'm sure anybody who's been in a road accident has experienced that.
Yeah, because it's too close to death, isn't it?
Yeah. It's very easy to, you just have to, when you're rolling down the hill, you have to hit a tree, and if you hit it in the wrong place, it's very easy. In fact, that's one of the main causes of injuries and death in rallies is hitting trees. So when a car hits a tree, then the side impact doesn't protect you so well.
So, in fact, also you've taken me very smoothly into my next question, Mr. Surinder, and that was mainly to do with the risk factors of a safari rally. And from before and now, technology has changed a lot. Safety rules and regulations have changed a lot. Safety rules, safety material that you can get has also become so much more available and everything. So, on average, I'm not sure if you can answer this, is how many deaths would have occurred during a safari rally with the drivers. I'm not talking about spectators or passerbys or anything like that, just with the drivers who've been involved in a nasty crash or anything. We have lost members.
You know, in Kenya, in the Safari Rally, there have been members lost, but mainly due to rivers. When you fall into a swollen river or your car gets washed away in a swollen river, that's when most deaths have been due to drowning. We've had very few deaths due to accident because the cars are pretty well protected. But, you know, when you start talking about the technology improvement, in my 12 years as vice president of the FIA to Jean Todt, and 4 years before that as a World Council member of under Max Mosley, who was the president of the FIA, and then Jean Todt took over, and 12 years I was his vice president. Now, during these 16 years, we have made great strides in improving safety in Formula One, for example. The monocoque of the driver has to undergo special crash testing. And the monocoque is built in such a way that the impact into a wall, for example, the monocoque deforms in stages, and that reduces the impact onto the driver. And very similarly in rallying, we have done the same. And now the roll cage strength is designed in such a way that it actually buckles in an impact, in a head-on impact, for example. And that roll cage helps to save the driver. Now, seat technology has improved considerably as well, which is what we worked on a lot. Shekemetha had an accident in the Pharaohs Rally in Egypt, and he broke his back. 3 vertebrae broke, and his ribs broke. Why? Because his seat broke. Now, had the seat not broken, he would have been fine. But the impact was only 12 G, and the seat broke. And now Romain Grosjean, who had an accident in Bahrain a couple of years back, and the car burst into flames, that impact was 63 G.
Whoa.
Now, G is a G force.
Yes.
And gravity force. And Shekker's accident was only 8 G, and his back broke because the seat broke. But yet, Romain Grosjean survived a 63 G accident. So you can see how safety has improved over the years. And we've done a lot of work in the FIA to improve safety, which is now come into the new hybrid cars, which, you know, I was very involved in the hybrid cars that are rallying this year. And the first Safari Rally with a hybrid car is going to be actually done in June this year. And those hybrid cars have a battery pack, which we have designed into a little casing that can withstand impact of up to 60 G.
Wow.
So that battery pack doesn't break. And each rally car, when it has an accident, has a light on the front and on the sides. And if you ever look at a World Championship Rally video, you will see that light. If the light is red, you cannot go and touch that car because it's live. And until the light goes green, that's only when the car can be moved. So, and a very similar thing happens to Formula One cars. If the light is red, there is a light on the side of the Formula One car. If that light is red, marshals cannot touch the car, and which was an experience happened in Bahrain last weekend. There was a car that the marshals could not go and touch, and the safety car had to be put out. Why? Because the light had not gone green yet. And that means the car is live. And, you know, because these hybrid cars, they're half electric and half on a combustion engine. So while that hybrid car does not become safe, you cannot go and touch it. So a lot of safety aspects have been happening over the years, and I've been quite involved with the FIA on all these safety developments in the world.
That's amazing. As we say, as years have gone by, new technologies have come up, and all these safety rules and regulations are coming into. So obviously a great sport with great protection for the rally drivers also. That you made a comment here just now about the first hybrid car in a rally. So is that starting off with the Kenyan Safari Rally that's coming up in June? Is that correct?
No. We started with hybrid World Rally Championship cars this year for the first time. And the first hybrid car was used in Monte Carlo Rally. So then the second one was Sweden. The third one's going to be in Croatia, which is next weekend. And then we have Italy and Portugal. And then we come to Safari in June. So there's going to be many rallies before we come to the Safari Rally. But it's the first time a hybrid car will be used in Africa.
Wonderful. So that would be, again, a nice thing to put down in history with the hybrid car introduction.
And you know what hybrid does is it gives you a power boost, very much like Formula One. Formula One gets power boost from the electrical motor. And that power boost in a Formula One car is about 80 horsepower. Oh. And in a rally car, it's very similar. You get about 70 horsepower boost. It doesn't last long. It lasts only about 3 minutes. And then the engine charges the batteries again, and then you can use the boost for another 3 minutes. So if you're a clever driver and you use it in the right way, you can get the electric boost actually helping you and working for you.
Wonderful. Again, some technical skills that the driver would need to have to the thought process as to when to use it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Now, I know we had a little bit of a conversation before we came on to the Zoom session a couple of days ago. I'd like you to share your interaction with one of the great personalities, Mike Kirkland, and how you guys came together. Have you guys started the Safari Rally, and how things changed, and as you guys moved on and things changed. So share that little experience with Mr. Mike Kirkland and your interaction.
Okay, I was Mike's co-driver for 2 years. I drove the 1990 Safari in a Subaru Legacy with Mike Kirkland. And then I drove the 1991 Safari Rally in a Nissan Pulsar with Mike Kirkland. Both years, in 1990, we didn't finish the Safari. Our engine blew. But in 1991, we were lying third overall and then went off in the mud and eventually finished seventh overall in the Safari. Then Mike went to do a fun rally in 2000. Yeah, I think it was the year 2000. He did a fun rally in a Peugeot 504, which was built in Mombasa. And he did a rally from London to Sydney. It was a great event. He drove all the way from London to Sydney. And he really enjoyed it. He said this was a great thing. So when he came back to Kenya, he called me and he said, let's start a company and let's start an East African Safari Classic Rally on a similar basis. So in 2002, we lost the World Rally Championship status in the Safari Rally. So that was an opportunity to start something new, to continue the old school Safari Rally, which had already changed. And a lot of people had started driving only 300 kilometers around a car park almost. But the old 5,000 kilometer rally didn't exist anymore. So we started the classic Safari Rally in 2003, and we went into Tanzania, we went into Uganda, we did a lot of rallying in Kenya. And that was the start of the historic Safari Rally, which I started with Mike Kirkland as his partner. And then in 2005, I bought Mike Kirkland out because his tourism business was very busy in Southern Cross Safaris in Mombasa. And I bought him out, and then I ran it myself until 2013 when I sold the event, because I felt the old Safari concept could not continue in Kenya because the population had increased a lot. You know, when we rallied around the country on open roads, the population of Kenya was 15 million. In the year 2013, I think we were at 45 million. Oh. And there's boda bodas and motorcycle taxis all over in every village. Now, a motorcycle is driving at 20 kilometers an hour and you're coming at 150 behind it. If he's in a blind spot over a brow, you're not going to see him. And that's the end of the boda boda. So I just got too scared and I decided now that it's time to sell the business. So that's what happened. So I ran the Classic Safari Rally as a historic event for 10 years.
So would you say that that was the only reason as to why you sold on and moved on after 2013 was the safety issue for the public? The Safari Rally was, yeah, is that the only reason why?
Yeah, that was the main reason. And, you know, second thing that happened in Tanzania was the minute you had an accident in Tanzania, you were put in jail until you proved yourself innocent. And now when you're rallying, an accident is very easily possible.
Sure.
So I got very scared about these regulations that came out in Tanzania and also the population increase in Kenya. And so I did decide that, okay, now it's time to give up.
Great. Okay. Yeah. On to better, different, newer opportunities, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And then the FIA came along, and I've been involved in the administration of motorsport for ever since.
Yeah, so before we get into that and the admin side of the FIA, I also wanted to ask you that a very popular name, Ronu Altonon, you actually drove with him and finished as he's a Finnish driver, right? He's a Finnish man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah,
you
Ronu
actually.
Altonen, it was one of the first Flying Finns. The Flying Finns was a very famous name. And the Flying Finns was Tommy Mäkinen, Tommy Mäkinen, yeah, no, not Tommy Mäkinen, Timo Mäkinen, and Ranu Altonen. These were the Flying Finns that first started that name.
And how was your experience working with him?
Now, I navigated for Ranu only in testing. I never did a rally with him. But we did miles and miles and miles of testing, building Opel Ascona 400, the Opel Manta 400, and that was really good fun. And Ranu Altonen was one of the people I talked about earlier, because he was a very talented driver, and we used to call him the professor, because he also conducted a rally school in Kenya, of which Shekhar Mehta was actually part of that rally school and actually learned a lot from Ranu's experiences. So the other people who were in that rally school with us, I was there as well, and Vic Preston Jr. was there, Shekhar Mehta was there. So a lot of people attended that rally school, including Jayant Shah and a lot of other Kenyan rally drivers. So, Ranu Altonen was a master. He taught people how to drive. He used to give his experiences to people. He was a great guy.
So amazing experience with that popular personality. We move on to our next personality with whom you have worked a lot also. We've mentioned him a couple times already, and that is none other than our Lohana man, Shekhar Mehta. So you earlier said that while you were at university and during the riots and you had time off, and Shekhar Mehta rang you and asked you to go to organize the Himalayan rally. And so share that experience with Shekhar Mehta from running the Himalayan rally to, do I understand correctly, have you navigated with him?
Yes, absolutely, but only in testing again. I've never navigated him in the rally because during the rally, he had a permanent co-driver here in Kenya, Mike Doughty. And in all the rallies outside Kenya, his wife, Yvonne Mehta, used to navigate for him. So Shekhar already had his co-drivers, but whenever there was the hard work of testing in Kenya, I mean, I used to get the opportunity to navigate for him. And he was an inspiration. He was a real inspiration. Shekhar Mehta is a person who has actually molded my life. He's my hero. And all that I've learned and me coming into the FIA and everything is all thanks to Shekhar Mehta. Because before me, Shekhar Mehta was in the FIA as the president of the Rally Commission. And he worked a lot with Max Mosley and guided a lot of development in not only safety, but in the cars with the manufacturers. For many years, Shekhar was at the helm of the Rally Commission. I think it was almost a 10-year stint he had in the FIA as president of the Rally Commission of the FIA. And he was, instrumental in putting a lot of new things in the FIA. So he's an amazing person, and I've done a lot of work with him. He used to use me in many rallies. I've done the Argentina rally, New Zealand rally, Ivory Coast, all with Shekhar and his team.
Great. So with Shekhar Mehta, I believe there was a prize that was awarded to him by the late Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Can you share that particular instance with us, please?
Yeah, in 1980, when we went to India with the Opal team and drove in the Himalayan rally, it started in Bombay, went through a lot of India, Pune, Rajasthan, to the Jhansi, Jabalpur, Agra, and we went into Delhi and then into the mountains, and actually came back down and finished in Delhi. In fact, we came down the Kulu Manali route, which in those days was gravel. It wasn't tarmac like it is today.
Yes.
So we drove down that road and actually finished in Delhi. And in Delhi at the Moria Sheraton, we had a prize giving, and Indira Gandhi came to the prize giving. That was an honor to meet her. And she met with the whole team. Now, there was one politician in India who was actually furthering his own cause and kept saying that we are wasting money and we're wasting fuel. And his followers threw a lot of stones in Agra at the rally cars. And Shekhar's windscreen was broken and everything.
Wow.
So Indira Gandhi did say to us at the prize giving that the next time you come to India, we will throw flowers, we will not throw stones at you.
That's a nice one coming up from the Prime Minister. Yeah.
Yes, it was quite an honor. It was quite an honor. We got to meet her.
So interesting. Just going back to the Kenyan rally and the population that was increasing there, and that's when you were thinking that it's a bit risky over there. How about while you were rallying in India? The population is so large. How did you cope with that?
Once you go out of the cities in India, the population is not so large. And there are open areas in India that you could have rallied in those days, in the 80s, probably not today. In the 80s, there was a lot of open area we could rally. In fact, there were some parts of India that we never even saw people. And, it was unbelievable. When you drive through Rajasthan desert, I mean, you don't see anybody. You're driving for, in fact, days without seeing a car. So there were parts of India which were not populated in those days.
But what a memory to go back to, isn't it?
Yeah, it was great.
Great. So that also, now we move on to one of the interesting chats that we had, which was the testing sessions with Erwin Weber, a German driver. And I believe at that time, working for Audi in 1983, is that correct?
Yeah, in 83, Shekhar Mehta had an opportunity with Audi to drive for them. Audi at that time was the top team in the world of rallying, because they just built a four-wheel drive car and that was winning everything. Now, Shekhar had this opportunity, and Audi needed somebody to go to Argentina and organize the team, and Shekhar asked me to go. And so I had this wonderful opportunity to work for Audi Sport. And Shekhar, it was in the snow and ice in Bariloche, which was in the south of Argentina, very close to Santiago de Chile. And in those areas in the snow and ice, the four-wheel drive Audi was just superb. And we finished first, second, third, fourth with Audi. And Shekhar was fourth place in Argentina. So that was an amazing result. And the fifth place was actually Mark Wellen in the Lancia. So the next top car was fifth.
So you were working for Audi at the time, and you were sort of asked by Shekhar Mehta to go there. How did it feel when the first, second, third, fourth is your car company coming up?
Yeah, no, it was a very good result. We had a good rally. But at the end of the day, I mean, that was only one of the opportunities. Shekhar was a very popular driver around the world. Shekhar used to do 5 or 6 events per year overseas. And he was a very, very good driver, very talented driver. And, you know, the biggest talent Shekhar had was actually being very clever about his driving. When Mercedes came to Kenya in the 80s, Shekhar used to sit down, not himself, to think about every section in the rally and where can I beat Mercedes? In this section, I can beat him. I know I can beat them because it's too rough for them to go fast. So with my Nissan, I'm going to go and practice this section. And he used to do about 8 or 9 practice sessions on that section alone, so that he could beat Mercedes on that section. So Shekhar was actually thinking about his rallying. Rano Altunen just used to get in the car and drive. And same with Vic Preston Jr. Sit in the car and drive, not think about the future. I mean, just to give you an example, Bjorn Waldegard, he was a fantastic winner of the Safari as well. And Bjorn, when he used to drive the classic rally, would come and sit in my office opposite my desk and not say a word. He would just sit there for hours and I continued my work. And then he would just shoot a question to me. How's tomorrow? And I'd say, oh, the route opener said that the route is fine. I mean, there's no rain, there's no war. So this is all aspects. A driver is actually accumulating information for himself to be able to drive fast the next day. And Shekhar was a person like that, which is why he won so many Safari rallies. And so did Bjorn. But Rano Altonen, Vic Preston Jr., they just drove their guts out and they never really won anything.
Sure. Shekhar Mehta's name has been mentioned on this particular Zoom session, I think more than 15, 20 times already. Wherever he is, I hope he would be listening to us so he can see how people are still thinking about him. And yeah, what a great personality, what a name in the automobile industry. And to today, I think we all remember him so nicely. And we are so proud of the Lohana community member that he's one of them. So yeah, absolutely amazing. Now, there was
an Lohana community. Sorry, I must just say to the Lohana community, please don't forget Shekhar Mehta. I have seen no honors for Shekhar in Kenya as yet from the community. You should do something to honor him.
Okay, Mina Ben, did you get the message? And the Lohana Youth League is with us. The Lohana community, Lohana Youth League can take this message back to the Lohana Mahajan or the governing body or whoever their superiors are. And please take this message that if we should probably acknowledge our such a hero of the automobile industry of the Safari Rally. Mina Ben, a message to definitely pass through to them. And Meet has turned his camera on. Meet, thank you. I guess you got the message there. Thanks. Okay, so Surinder, next one that I would like to come up with is, you know, these rally cars, they have often been used as collector's items, they have been auctioned, they have been sold. And you clearly told me while we were discussing this that in 1988, the boss of Oppo had proposed to sell some cars and generate some revenue. Tell us about that incident and why was that being done?
You know, rally cars built by General Motors in those days used to go back, and when they finished with a rally car, it was crushed into a ball of metal and thrown into a furnace and completely destroyed. Now, what I said to Tony Fall, who was the boss at the time, is that we could get some of the budget back by selling these cars. And Tony was not in favor of the idea, and neither was the management of General Motors in Germany in Rüsselsheim. But Tony managed to convince some of his board members that maybe we should try to sell some of these cars. So it became something that they wanted to do. And we eventually sold 7 Opel Ascona 400s and 5 Opel Manta 400s in Kenya. There was even one bought by Rajiv Khanna from India, but kept here in Kenya with Mane Choda. So this opportunity was fantastic. And now besides one car, which was written off because it hit a tree and was bent completely, all 11 of the other Opels have all been bought by collectors in Germany, and they've been restored at great expense. Some of those restored cars, people have spent up to 250,000 euros restoring them. And those cars are actually back in Germany and actually looking better than they were when they were first built.
No, okay.
Yeah.
So it obviously generates quite a bit of revenue selling those so-called rally cars, eh?
Yeah, the Locha brothers in Eldoret, you must know the Locha brothers. They had a Porsche 911. That Porsche went back to Germany and was restored for a cost of 350,000 euros, and today is probably valued at 1.2 million euros.
Whoa, that's a huge revenue.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. It's unbelievable. I mean, the price is in the eye of the collector. But there's enough people with money in Europe to be collectors, and they're just buying them up. They're buying all these old cars.
Amazing. Now, I know you have had some amazing experiences in the Safari Rally. You've done a lot for them. You worked voluntarily for them. You worked for many, many years with them. Now, what do you see the future of first the Kenyan Safari Rally and then Safari Rally as international? So let's tackle the Kenyan side first. What do you see the future of the Kenyan Safari Rally?
This World Rally Championship is become very commercial. It's an exercise whereby provides now with social media around the world today, provides a lot of live television and live social media to the world. So at the end of the day, 350 million people watch the World Rally Championship, which is 13 events around the world. 350 million people actually is the total figure of viewership for all 13 rounds of the World Rally Championship. Now, the Safari Rally on its own is probably watched by about 30 million on a live basis. Now, when you have, or you put an advert on CNN to promote Kenya and say that Kenya is a destination that you should come as a tourist, when you are watching a television program, that advert comes during the break. That's the time everybody runs to the kitchen to get a drink, goes to the toilet, and you are spending 1.5 million euros with CNN to put that advert on. So to showcase our country and every other person in the world who has a World Championship Rally, to showcase their country, the World Rally Championship gives a very good medium. And the viewership is good. The social media is very good. Live television is excellent because, just the other day I was in Almantaita doing the route of the Safari Rally in June this year. And we paid particular attention to the stages that are going to be shown live. And 3 of our stages are going to be live on TV. That means that the cameras are actually transmitting directly to London. It's being edited and being put on social media live. The delay is probably about a minute from what you actually do in Kenya and to the seeing it around the world. So it's an amazing aspect. So the Safari Rally has become something that the government is spending close to 2.5 million euros to bring back to Kenya as a World Rally Championship event. There is no sponsor who can pay 2.5 million euros. the government, because the biggest benefactor is the country, Kenya. So it's the government that pays that amount of money to the promoter and to the FIA for the fees, etc. And that's going to be the future of the Safari Rally. Now, we've signed a 6-year contract with the World Rally Championship. So we've done one, there's 5 more to go. We just hope that the new government of Kenya in August this year will continue to support the Safari Rally and will continue all this. So it's a great thing for a country to be a part of the World Rally Championship. And I can tell you, Formula One is a lot more expensive for a country to put on, because one, they got to build a track which costs you around $350 million. But just the promoter's fee payable to the promoter of Formula One is about $20 million before you can be put on the calendar. Now, a country like Singapore has actually come onto the map of the world thanks to Formula One. And very similarly, today you will watch Saudi Arabia Formula One race, which last year Saudi was actually put on the map of the world. So, you know, it's worth the government's money spend to actually bring your country in the world of sport, because when sport is showing on TV, people aren't going to the toilet, they're watching it. And in the Dakar rally, for example, you saw the beautiful landscapes of Saudi Arabia. I mean, who would have ever imagined that Saudi Arabia was so beautiful?
Yes.
And very similarly, people are watching the landscapes of Kenya and saying, my God, look at that country. It's so beautiful. Look at the animals. We want to go there. So it's a great boost for tourism. And I think if we run the 6 safari rallies that we are planning to run, of which one is done, we will be able to bring a lot of tourism to Kenya.
Great. Now, you again have smoothly diverted me to the question I was going to ask you about the 6 safari rallies that you guys are planning and organizing. One is done, 5 to come. So tell us about them very quickly, the one that was done and the 5 to come. When did the last one happen and when are the future ones happening?
The last one happened in June last year, and it was the first round of the World Rally Championship. After 19 years, it came back to Kenya. We lost it in 2002 and the World Championship status, and it came back to Kenya after 19 years. Now, a lot of work was done by the CEO, Phineas Kimathi, and a lot of his team and members. And I was part of his team. I must say that I'm very honored to be part of his team. And we managed to bring the rally back to Kenya after intense lobbying for almost 3 years at the FIA, because, you know, getting a World Championship status is not something that's very easy. There are 20 countries around the world that want it, and they have more money than we have.
Yes.
Countries like Abu Dhabi is asking for a World Rally Championship event. Now, I mean, they can pay the €2.5 million without batting an eyelid.
Exactly.
But actually bringing it back to Kenya required a lot of lobbying, a lot of talking to the FIA, talking to members of the FIA, because they all have to vote for the World Rally Championship to come to Kenya. And so there was a lot of background work, which luckily in my position as Vice President, I managed to help with. And we managed to bring the rally back to Kenya as a World Rally Championship event. So it's a great achievement, and I think Kenya will benefit in the 6 years.
I think, as you said, again, brings Kenya on the map. Not that it isn't, but it just boosts the tourist industry. So yeah, a very big asset for Kenya for the next 6 major events in the automobile industry that's coming up. Now, I have a few questions, but always, you know, time is always an essence, but I'm still going to ask you, and we'll have very prompt answers with that, if that's okay. Now, first question is, not the next agenda on, but these are just questions to finish the question answer session. when you guys are selecting drivers for the rally, what are the selection criteria being used?
Okay. You know, Felipe Massa once said that the best Formula One driver in the world is probably a taxi driver in Brazil, but we haven't found him yet. And very similarly, a good rally driver in Kenya hasn't been found yet. But, you know, we've got marathon runners, we've got endurance people, we've got lots of physically fit people. And many of them could be talented drivers. Some of these boda drivers, the way motorcycle taxis, the way they drive in Nairobi, I promise you, there would be fantastic motorcycle riders in the Dakar rally. So we just haven't found the talent yet. And talent is something that is very difficult to find. If you don't have talent, you cannot be a top rally driver. You're not going to learn how to be a rally driver. You have to have it or you don't have it, like a tennis player. You're a good tennis player or you're not. You can't be a Djokovic by learning how to be a Djokovic. And that's the way rallying is as well. And not only rallying, every sport has talent, and finding that talent is part of the job.
Hey, brilliant. Thank you for answering that one. Now, for a rally driver to participate in the Safari Rally, is there any cost involvement in terms of a driver registering for the rally, participating for the rally?
Yeah, no, there is a fees to enter a rally because that fees actually goes towards the organization of the event.
Okay.
But one thing that the wise man Shekhar Mehta always said is that to be a motorsportsman and to be a rally driver, choose your parents carefully. Make sure they have money.
Okay. So yes, money is obviously necessary, and there is registration fee going on in it too. So in terms of, okay, one wants to become a driver, one wants to participate in the Safari Rally, one wants to enjoy it, brings tourism to Kenya. All that is very, very good about the sport. But what are the risk factors with this sport? Risk factors, particularly with the Safari Rally itself, yeah?
There is a risk. When you're driving fast, you can have an accident. And that was shown last year during the Safari Rally when Tejveer Rai crashed his Volkswagen Polo and today is paralyzed.
Oof.
Because you know, his car went head over heels and overturned many times, and his safety equipment wasn't in. Safety equipment can only work when it's nice and tight, but it wasn't tight. And so the poor boy broke a vertebrae and got paralyzed. So there is dangers in the rally. Rallying is a sport that is dangerous. And we've always seen crashes in Formula One and World Rally Championship. You see a car going off and all that. But again, I say it is a dangerous sport, certainly more dangerous than other sports. And that's the way it is.
Yeah, as we say, with everything, there's a risk factor involved with it. So we got to be prepared with it. Now, if there was one specific message that you wanted the audience, because this is live on Facebook and other social media platforms, people listening into this on directly on Zoom, if there was one message that you wanted to give for this upcoming Safari rallies in our country, Kenya, I still consider Kenya as my country. It's my birth country. I don't live there anymore, but it's still my country. I'm a wananchi. What message would you give to the audience? What is one thing that you want them to know?
Well, last year we had a serious problem of spectator traffic around the Safari Rally routes. And we had close to, on the days of the rally, I think 500,000 people actually went out to watch the rally. over the 3 days. So in one day, let's say we had 200,000 people in the region around the stages. One of the things that we experienced last year was a lot of people get very excited during a rally and they want to drive their car fast. And when they're watching the rally, they've been drinking. And so drinking and driving doesn't go along together. And so the message to the people is that we could lose the safari rally if there is a big accident with spectators. So we could lose that because the FIA doesn't want to be seen around a country that cannot control its public. So it's important for the public to understand that they play a crucial role in us keeping the rally in Kenya. And they've got to understand that.
So don't drink and come and watch the rally. Be sober and watch the rally and enjoy it nicely. Be a bit more organized.
You can drink, but if there's 5 people in the car, then one person can't drink because he's going to drive back.
So just be safe, be smart about it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the big message to the audience coming from the big personality, Mr. Surinder Thatthi. And the audience, please, please, please be sensible. We want the rally going on in Kenya for ever and ever. So if the spectators make it into a very big event and very carefully monitored event and avoid any spectator accidents, I think then that's probably something that we are all aiming for. Last question on the Q&A. My question to you is who are the favorites in the June rally that's coming up? Is there any Kenyan participation in the drivers? And are there any favorites that are there that probably would be winning the rally?
Yeah, we have, in the old days, we used to have a very popular driver, Patrick Giroux. Yes. And we've now have a new Kenyan young boy. He's only 24 years old. His name is Mekre Kimathi. And Mekre Kimathi has been showing a lot of promise. And there's also another team member in his team, which is Jeremy Wahome. These 2 drivers have shown a lot of promise and are coming up. So certainly from the Kenyan side, those are the ones to watch. Now, the World Rally Championship Rally 1 cars, what we call Rally 1 cars, are the cars entered by the teams, but those entries are given for the whole championship. So a Kenyan driver cannot penetrate that aspect because a team like Toyota signs its 4 drivers, and then those 4 drivers drive all the rallies in the World Championship. So Toyota is a closed shop. You can't say that one of our Kenyan drivers today is going to be so talented that he's going to progress up into the Toyota ranks. That doesn't happen anymore. Those days are gone.
Okay.
So,
okay, 2 names that came. 2 names that came to my mind. The gentleman called Carl Tundo, and from an Asian representative, Baldev Chagar. Are those also participating in the rally this year?
No, unfortunately, Baldev Chagar is a former Kenya Rally champion, and he also won the Classic Safari Rally just in in February this year. So Baldev Chagar has a lot of talent, and but unfortunately, he was also part of the Cabras Rally team, and Cabras Rally team is the Rai boys who have now pulled out of rallying. So Baldev Chagar might not have a car for the Safari Rally this year. If he does get a car, it'll be a fantastic thing. But Carl Tundo also does not have a car for the Safari Rally this year because, we are at the moment in a transition period with the type of cars one can use. Previously, Subaru and Mitsubishi built a very successful Group N car. It was called the Group N 4 Subaru Impreza or Mitsubishi Lancer. Those cars have now been superseded, and FIA has made a new rally pyramid where Rally 1 is the World Rally Championship car. Rally 2 is what used to be an R5 car, very similar to what Baldev Chaggar used to drive, Onkar Rai used to drive, and Kaltundo won the Africa Championship with Nick last year. But those cars are very expensive. You're talking about a car being €500,000 per car. So it's quite expensive. And then Jeremy Wahome and McRae Kimati are using Rally 3 cars, third tier down the pyramid. Those cars are not so powerful. They're about 300 horsepower, but not as expensive. Each car probably costs about €100,000.
Wow.
So this is the great thing that the RFI has done is they've made a pyramid. The most expensive World Rally car, which is built by the manufacturers, is at the top. And then it goes down to Rally 5, which is a two-wheel drive simple car, which doesn't cost more than about €30,000.
So there's a range where people can participate in.
Absolutely. That's the range that, you grow up in this sport.
Sure, sure. Mr. Thatthi, what an amazing conversation with yourself. What a great insight into this automobile sport that we spoke about, and amazing experiences that you've shared with the top celebrities of the automobile industry, the sports, the safari rally and everything. My God, it's such a interesting career to have, an interesting lifespan, and all the good things that you have done with the automobile industry. So thank you so much for your valuable time that you've given us today. We move on to the next section of the MINLA Zoom session, which is our very popular rapid fire round. And this is a rapid fire round where I'll ask you very promptly some questions. There are about 20, and we expect a one word or a short statement answer to that question. Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
Perfect. Thank you. So, Mr. Surinder Thatthi, welcome to the MINLA Zoom session rapid fire round. And the first word is, or rather the statement is, the classic safari rally.
It's a very popular event, and definitely the future for Kenyan drivers because they can afford it.
Thank you. The best car that you have driven.
I've been a co-driver all my life, but I would say the Nissan Pulsar that we drove in 1991 was one of the best rally cars that I drove.
Thank you. A very popular name that has sprung up on this session many a times, Mr. Shekhar Mehta.
A hero and inspiration, and definitely your community should idolize him because let me tell you, he was a great man.
Thank you. You want to bring him on our Zoom session, Meena Ben? The Federation.
No, you can't do that. He passed away. He passed away, unfortunately.
We should probably do this as a memory to him. That's what I meant to say, actually. Yeah, and acknowledge him, obviously. The organization called the Federation International Automobile.
Yeah, that's the controlling body of world motorsport in the world. I've had the honor to be its vice president for 12 years. Its membership is 165 clubs around the world. Every country has one motor club, which is sort of for a federation, which is the controlling body of motorsport in that country. And in Kenya, it's the Kenya Motorsport Federation. So there are 165 of them, and they all vote elected members, and I was elected for 12 years as their vice president.
Brilliant. The COVID-19 pandemic.
That has set motorsport back around the world. It's been quite difficult. Kenyan Rally Championship entries have fallen from 45 to 23 in the world in the Equator Rally next weekend. We can only put down to COVID.
Your favorite pastime sport?
Motorsport, of course, and golf.
Kenyan tourism.
Kenyan tourism has been hit severely by COVID, but we see signs of recovery. Mombasa is opening up. Masai Mara was full a month ago. So tourism is coming back slowly, and I think our safari rally will help it.
Thank you. One short comment on the current Russian-Ukraine crisis.
Yeah, that's an aspect that's going to affect world motorsport all over the world. We saw yesterday a terrorist attack in Saudi Arabia in Jeddah, about 3 kilometers away from the circuit. And yesterday there was big discussion with teams and drivers about whether the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, which is qualifying is going to happen in a couple of hours, would actually take place, and they all decided they're going to go ahead with it. But very similarly, I think the Ukraine war might affect the world motorsport in quite a severe way. We just hope it doesn't affect our safari rally badly.
Fingers crossed the effect is minimal, if any. The name Ronu Altonon.
Rano is also one of the greats of the world of motorsport and rallying. And Rano Altonen is still alive and still drives. He's 83, I think, and keeps in touch with me on WhatsApp and Facebook. He still drives for BMW in Germany. Rano is a great man. He taught us a lot in Kenya, and we learned a lot from his 19 safari participation.
Thank you. Short and sweet, social media.
Social media is a great tool these days. A lot of aspects of motorsport are on social media. As a matter of fact, you see results on social media before you even see them on television. And sometimes it almost negates the television completely. But that's the way life is.
Thank you. So we are still on question number 12. So we'll have to really speed this up. In one word or a short statement, very short statement, Sikhism.
Sikhism is my religion. That's all.
Thank you. The name Satwant Singh of Zambia.
Yeah, another great person. I was his co-driver and I won 4 Africa Rally Championships with him. So great man.
Brilliant. Jamhuri High School, which was previously known as Duke of Gloucester.
Oh, a great educational institution. And I hope the Automobile Club still exists.
Great. One super name that the world will never forget, Mr. Joginder Singh.
Yeah, he was an inspiration to all of us. When I was growing up, Joginder was my hero. And I used him as a patron on the 2007 Classic Safari Rally. 2 years after that, he passed away, unfortunately. So that's it was great that we got to see him.
Great. At 63 years of age, in one statement, your one main goal.
Wow.
Yes,
If I can...
and at 63, you can have a goal.
Yes, yes, I know. One of the goals I have, and I hope I can achieve, is to bring asphalt racing into Kenya. We have gravel driving, rally driving, but there is no asphalt racing. And we used to have the Embakasi track and the Nakuru track in those days. And I'd like to build a track in Kenya and we start asphalt racing.
Superb goal to have. Your favorite of the 3, Mohogo, Ugali, or Sukuma Wiki?
Mogo.
Mogo. Okay, if you rate the cars in this any specific order, which may be the best, the good, better, best kind of thing, Toyota, Opel, Subaru, or Nissan?
All fantastic manufacturers, and we are very, very proud that they're all involved in the World Rally Championship. So they're great guys to have around.
Perfect. And last but not the least, Dr. Lalit Soda's rapid fire round.
Oh, that was very interesting. That was good.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for participating with us on the MINLA Zoom session rapid fire round. Mr. Surinder Thatthi, thank you once again. And I now move on to the final conclusion of this particular Zoom session, which will be done by our what we call the superhuman lady, the pioneer of MINLA Zoom session, the lady who loves doing Zoom sessions, is none other than our Meenaben Khagra. Meenaben, all the way from the Flamingo City, a vote of thanks from you, please.
Yeah. Before I give vote of thanks, my other half wished to say something about Safari Rally.
Sure.
Okay, just in short, I used to do the what you call controls in 1958, 59, 60, and at that time it was East African Safari Rally, and I used to be a member at Nakuru Rift Valley Motor Club, and even the Rift Valley Motor Club has been chased by when I was in the committee, and I served in the East Africa Safari Rally for nearly 7 years. And then there later on,
That's amazing.
And it was very interesting.
Sorry, Dr. Lalit, there's one thing I want to say to you is that, a new museum is being built in the Kenyatta grounds near the Carnivore restaurant. And we have asked Amina Mohammed to make a little corner for the Safari Rally. And then, Mr. Kagrams would be a great contributor to something like that.
Absolutely. Ramesh Bhai, you have a job to do now.
Yes. I knew all of them, Nick Noviki, Joginder, Shekhar, all of them, they passed through our controls. And
sure. I think all Kenyans have been so passionate about the Safari Rally. And when that comes up, everybody has their passion and they want to go and spectate it and be part of it and serve it and be a big thing with it. So really, it's definitely something that it's in our blood, as we would say. So Ramesh Bhai, Meenaben, thank you. Surinder Bhai, thank you very much. But Meenaben, a good vote of thanks from yourself, please.
Yeah, Habariya Jyoti. Global namaskar to everybody. This is my pleasant and humble duty to end this session with the heartiest thank you to Nish Lakhani, who introduced to Surinder ji. Nairobi Youth League, President Shamil Manek, Secretary Meet Thakkar, Priyanka Chotai, and members. You are all our great supporter for quite a long time. My big thank you to our own Surinder ji, our Kenyan pride. Thank you, all beautiful souls. Asandi Sana to all the viewers on Facebook Live and those who have joined us live on Zoom. Can't end my thank you without saying thank you to my cute cousin, Dr. Lalit Soda, and our co-host here is Eli Bhai, next rally driver, for being my co-host today. Thank you all. Asandi Sana, Kwaherini, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all.
Thank you very much. Mr. Surinder, if I may take a question that just dropped off on the chat box, I'm not sure if you read it or not. The question comes up as good information in spirit, but unfortunately all African countries missed the chance to showcase Kenya and other countries for tourism at the Expo 2020 in Dubai. 25 million visitors, an equal amount enthusiasts on social media. Now, any way you can help address that particular statement or a comment this particular person has made?
An expo is more of a trade expo. It's not a sporting expo. And I think if Kenya lost out on trading, that's got really nothing to do with the sporting aspect. If we were to showcase ourselves at a sporting expo, then we definitely would be very interested in doing that.
Thank you. Thank you for addressing that question. Sorry to put you on spot like that. But interesting, Yakos, from your perspective, it's not a sporting, it's a trading expo, hence the case. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on to MINLA Zoom session. And we formally end the session here. Meenaben, any last news, any final tips, any final points?
We're going to unmute few people who are here if they had any questions.